New Year, we back at it like a crack addict,
Oh, it looks like you like crack, bro. You like crack.
Nah. Like it's that thing of like crack addicts are so addicted to their drug that that's what they do. They just get back to it like nothing happened.
What
You know?
do you think addiction is a good thing though?
Nah. Yo, it depends what you're addicted to.
No. For me, generally, if you're gonna talk, let's say generally speaking, addiction would you consider addiction a good thing? Generally, because for example, okay, I get you addicted to drugs.
Okay,
Okay, it's
okay,
not a
okay,
good thing.
yes, okay. In general, I would say no because everything should be in moderation.
Fair enough. So
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think?
nah, dude, being addicted. You see, the for me, there's also a blurry line between being addicted, right,
Mm-hmm.
and being a person who's, let's say, not obsessed, but because obsession you could say is kind of addiction, but you're a person where you're so ambitious. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. Ambition,
Mm.
being a very ambitious person and addicted, because to me that
It's like
could
there's a thin line between the
there's a
two.
thin line, because when does your does it cross over to addiction? But that's what I'm thinking about. Is in
Yeah.
those instances, well, it's nuanced. So that's what I'm saying. For me, I don't know personally, because I would answer it in a very cowardly way and say it depends on what are you addicted on. Because if you're addicted to positive things, well, it's not a bad thing until it becomes toxic to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got a good
Because
point
think
there.
about it, like you're saying, everything in moderation. So that means you have to strike a balance, which is what we're talking about today of the whole mental health. As in, think about it, mental health, self care, looking after your body, financially, everything.
Yeah.
You have to have that care of yourself and creating a balance. And in my opinion, man, do we have a balance anymore in life? I don't think we have balance now.
No, in fact, like I think as times progress, as people change, as times change, we need to, I would say, redefine like what self-care is to us, what it means to us, what does it look like to us. Obviously, there's the other side of the spectrum where we know that it can get dark, but it's to say, what is it that I'm prioritizing to make sure that I'm okay on a physical, spiritual, financial, all those different levels that you want, emotional, whatever. How am I making sure that I'm 100% in those different tiers?
And so I would ask you, what is being balanced? Because and you know what, I wanna
Yeah.
poison the well a bit and say it like this: whose standards are we following on balancing life?
Uh, okay, that's like two part question. So for me, it's like, okay, so self-care for me, it's what am I doing to nurture my mind, my body, my heart, my spirit? What are those things that I'm doing to keep me filled up? Like that concept of like glass half full, glass half empty. So, being a generally positive person, you look at things as glass half full, but it doesn't just get there, you know? You need to be doing certain things to put you at that place where you can actually pour into other cups, where you can share or shed light on other things or other people that now can feel your energy as well. Uh, in terms of what I think we're following, it's firstly the methods and things that we've been taught, like, okay, this is how you take care of yourself. You maybe retail therapy, there's like um
But retail. Oh wait,
no no no
do you think retail therapy really is a
no,
thing?
no, I mean that is possibly like more of an emotional thing, because I mean, like, even the way people dress, I know it, I feel it too. Like, if I dress well, I feel good about myself, so why not dress well all the time? So that translates into how I take care of myself is, yo, let me present myself a certain way. And even how it is with clothes, a part of the expression, like, we could both be wearing the same thing, but like, we wear it differently still. It's the same thing, but it's like you kind of how you wear it is like how you carry yourself. I would feel is a way of expressing that. Um, if I think about, I just want to touch on the who we're following thing. I would say we're following the ways that we've been taught. Like we're saying, maybe you could do retail therapy. Maybe you could have hobbies. You could have activities that allow you to relax, unwind, whatever that is. Maybe you game, maybe you play sports or whatever it is. Activities to fill you up, going to church, whatever religious activity. Um, I think we're following societal constructs of what it is. I don't think most people define it for themselves to say, this is what self care is for me, and this is what I do, because it's like a ritual, to a certain extent, where the things that I do to take care of myself might not be the things that you do. But either way, we are both able to achieve the same thing, like, for example, you could go to gym and punch a punching bag, and that's how you relieve stress, you let stress out. Whereas somebody else might meditate, and there's no way of degree of comparison to say like one is possibly working better than the other, because as an individual you find what works for you.
The reason I'm
I
asking,
I I think
yeah,
people need to get to that point, but
yeah.
yeah. Well,
There's,
yes.
no. The reason I'm asking whose standards are we following is the saying what we've been taught as in, if you look at the overarching thing I'm talking about is that we 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 are a predominantly westernized country,
Mm-hmm.
basically, with the things that we do, the systems
Things
that
that
we
we follow,
follow. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So when it comes to balance, then it talks about the Western version of balance. That's what I'm getting. Listen,
Mm.
so it, we're following the model of the Europeans and the Americans because, and a lot of cultures are conforming to that, and that's what I'm saying is in who's dictating this balance? Because why do we have to have the balance in that way? Is there more than one way to balance life and to view life? So as
Mm.
in, if we
No,
look,
no, no. Because when as you're saying that, I just thought of like pharmaceuticals, bro. Like they might push a certain agenda as like healthy living is you on this vitamin, you are eating this
Mhm.
specific type of food, you are on whatever diet it is. So they could definitely push a narrative as to this is what balance looks like. This is what the greatest version of people looks like. Maybe some people even feel pressured into being certain things like, fuck, I need to look a certain way. Everyone in the media is like certain size bodies, has a certain type of skin tone, dresses a certain way. So that is presenting this life of like, yo, this is what you should aspire to be or strive for. And then that is viewed as balance. So if it's not like companies pushing health, it's the media pushing an image. It's like, remember there was a time where we would have adverts about cigarettes, bro, and they used to make cigarettes look so fucking cool that if you were not smoking cigarettes, you probably felt left out. Like, oh fuck, I'm not doing this thing that,
Marlboro ones
yeah, all these cool people are
in
doing
a
it,
yacht,
dude. Like
in a
movies,
car,
yeah, like
in a
they,
Ferrari.
bro, like hella cigarettes all day, all night. But then they stopped that shit because they realized, like, nah, that's not the image you're trying to push. But it doesn't mean that cigarette sales have stopped. It doesn't mean that people, people find their poison. But it's to say that, what, with enough influence, we can make you live a certain way. They still advertise alcohol, they still show young and old people. So it's like, hey, no, that looks like somebody like me. I could be a part of that. And it's okay because I look like him. He probably works, I work. I could do that. So it's fine. So I feel you. I feel you. What do you think is self care for you? And do you feel like these Western constructs have put you in a place where it's easy to follow, or is it hard for you to follow that?
Um, well, look, to be fair, bro, I've grown up in a westernized way, so that's what I'm more familiar with. Because even, let's say, my traditional way of life has been tainted because a lot of traditional practices that we have in my culture, there's a element of Europeanness in it. For example, itugu. That's a
Mm.
European thing. That's not an Mguni nation. So
Really?
it's not.
No, I would
Cause,
think,
cause,
hey,
'cause-
you protecting
no,
your
no, no,
hair,
no, no,
you
no,
know,
no.
you like
African
what?
so African women have their own head, the head things. As then under correction, okay. Not that I'm certain about it, but from what I vaguely remember, only married women wore the hats, if I'm not mistaken, right? You have to be married woman to wear that hat.
It's a signifying.
It's a signifying
There's
thing,
a significant.
and girls used to not wear that if you a maiden who's not married as yet and eligible to be married. There's certain things that used to be done, like they used to have beads also, and a young lady who's not married as yet, the whole mini skirt thing, for
Yeah,
example, in Zulu culture,
yeah,
that
what?
was back then. So the way a woman used to dress in that aspect, used to show same thing with men as to how they used to dress and how they used to operate. So on that, that's what I'm saying is that those things have been lost because certain Western European standards have fallen through. Wearing it do, for example, there's no need for that. Actually, that's not part of our culture. The use of candles, as in saying no, it's traditional candles. No, we never actually back in your Shaka days. Candles were not a thing.
Yeah.
So to have different colors of candles, it's like, you know what I mean?
Where's this coming from?
Where's
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying is that coming back to the point that because I've grown up in a more urban place, not let's say not in the rural areas, I'm used to that Western type of comfort and understanding. So therefore, that is all that I know. But when you read up on other cultures and how they take care of themselves and how they look after their beings. If you look at, for example, Buddhism, the more I read up on Buddhism and more I see of it, it intrigues me. I like the methodology of it because it's based on it's a offshoot of Hinduism, right? But what I like from again my standard correction, but from my little understanding about Buddhism, it's all about nature, the flow of nature and how it works.
The energies.
Give, you get, that type of stuff. So it speaks more to me, for example, if you compare it to the Abrahamic religions, because how they do things versus the Buddhism, you can tell that there is a difference, even though there's similarities here and there. But the fundamental difference is you believe that the world is living, people living. That's why they don't want to even hurt a fly, because they recognize that
All life is precious and meaningful part of the ecosystem, and
so that type of self-care and self-love and that lifestyle doesn't necessarily conform to the westernized views that I've grown up understanding. You know what I mean? So because of that, it makes you go, do we have to live the way that we do? Because our mental health. Look at what happened to dear Ricky Rick, bro. It still hasn't. They still, to be fair and to say it, they haven't stated publicly his cause of death. They still haven't, from what the latest I've read. So we still don't know how Ricky Rick passed on. However, it is alleged, due to his mental histories, it has to do with that. Let me leave it at that. As in, maybe that has a role to play as to why he passed on. But overall, to me, it's one of those things. As in, if we look at him, and remember, Patrick Shy was confirmed as having passed on because of also self-deletion. I'll use that term because we can't say the S word. But basically, he also passed on in his own hands because of the society. So I won't say even societal stuff. Is in what was he eating also, right? What because it's a three-layered thing. There's a physical, then there's the you say the emotional, and then there's the spiritual, right?
Yeah.
How I look at it. So if you're looking at your mind, going to a therapist, but if the foods that you're eating, you're not exercising, is that helpful? Does it finish, or does it help you overcome your mental issues? Because maybe the reason you're feeling the way you're feeling is because of how you're eating
Yeah.
and your lack of exercise. And the reason you're not successfully looking after yourself is because of that. So when you talk about what is self-care, for me, I look at the most basic instincts, as in fundamentally as humans, what are we, right? And what makes us work? And do we need these extra fluff to in order to have a
Mm,
healthy life? Therefore, care for yourself. As in, you need, was it Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for example?
yeah. So
If you
it's
can,
the essentials, the
if
nice to
you,
haves. Yeah.
if you can have your shelter, your food provided for, and clothing, all that provided for, do you will want more, but at the cost is, do you need to do these other extra things that harm you or put you in stress, that put your not only your
Mm,
physical health at risk, your emotional and
mental
your
health. Yeah.
mental.
So doing what you're able to do. I think a good example with that is even with cars, bruh. You know, like how niggas sometimes feel under pressure, like, fuck, I gotta drive a certain car to get a certain type of chick.
Or
And
to get a certain type of
a
job or
house or job or
perceived,
whatever,
yeah.
and then that time whatever you're earning is like, yo, you're exhausting yourself, you at your nth degree, and you can't even buy a burger or some shit, you know what I mean? So I get it, like it, that would be almost like putting up a performance of like, hey, this is who I am. And you know what, part of the mental part of it is that too, is to say some people are going through pain. RIP Ricky, from what I see, he would speak about his pain. And it's like you're going through pain, but then you put on this facade, or you have this performance, you carry yourself in a certain way where you withhold that, you keep it in. And it's like, it's about grand, Joe. We out, as a guy, you must stand. Like, it's almost like a taboo thing for you to be like, like showing any signs or forms of weakness, because like that's what you need as a guy. And as soon as you exhibit anything other than that, it's like, are you even a man anymore? So, yo, bruh, it's heavy. Just even saying this, just thinking about like how much support we need from our brothers, how much support we need from our women as well, because the society has positioned us in a place where we are supposed to provide. We are supposed to be heads of households, and it's not always that easy. If there's a head, there's a spine. If there's the other parts of the body, it's all working in unison. It's like a functioning system, and if there are parts but not the whole, it's shaky. The ground is shaky.
It's very shaky because, and
Oh,
but or how I also want to look at
fuck,
is,
bro.
the thing is, not only that, right? The A lot of people also jump. So actually, what I wanted to basically saying, gathering my thoughts properly now, is that
Mm.
it's easy to blame external factors also, right? So, for example, we can say we blame society, we blame your government, we blame the corporations for doing this. At the same time, is that, but it starts with self, as in, what are you doing to make a change at least? For example, let's look at your big conglomerate companies like your McDonald's, for example,
Yeah.
where their foods are not the healthiest, to say that. At least that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Not the healthiest food around, but yet they're making billions, bro, every year. And they bankroll is good.
Yeah.
And
Getting us
it
addicted to
requires
sugar and shit.
people, right? It requires people. Because if you look at, I think the food, for me, what I've realized recently, a couple of days after just reading up on
With the
sudden,
food, yeah.
with the certain things about, loving yourself and self care holistically, is that food plays a huge role, bruh, at how you are, your makeup. Because here's the thing, and I recommend anybody who's interested to look up like Dr. Robert Salposky. He's a
Mm-hmm.
behavioral neurologist, or sorry, behavioral biologist slash neuroendocrinologist. The dude is one of those people, man. He's just one of those people.
Those super specialized doctors,
Bruh,
he's
he
out there.
studies the brain. So one of his thing is about aggression. So
Okay.
one of my favorite books now is his book called Behave. It's about, he's talking about aggression and violence specifically in this book, main release. But he does make touch on other things like what makes you happy, or what makes a person happy, or feeling this and this. He speaks about how we are influenced, not only our genes and how we are, our personality can be can be moved over, or should I say, can be passed on from mother to child.
Like it's hereditary.
It can be your behavior. For
Mm.
example, I'm sure you've heard the thing, oh, this person has a father's anger or father's rage.
Hey, fana njengoba bakho.
And you know what I mean? Because and that speaks to that thing of there's more than just DNA that we inherit from our parents.
There's more traits that come with it as well.
Which speaks to how your, let's say, allergies and whatnot, they come about because, or another factor, let me not just say because solely, but a factor that influences it is, one of those things is your grandfather, because he used to eat this type of food, hence your father is, let's say, lactose intolerant, it therefore impacts you. You know what I mean? Kind of like I'm simplifying it, but it's obviously a bit more complex and there's a bit more nuance and science to it. But I'm just condensing it to make it simple to understand, as in, because that's how I understood it. As in, there's certain things that your grandparents, for argument's sake, just starting there, because it obviously goes older than that, but there's things that affect your grandparents, DNA that pass on to you, to your parents, and therefore you. Hence, it becomes, as you say, hereditary, and it becomes a genetic thing for the family. Oh, this family, your father was diabetic, you are probably going to be diabetic. You know what I mean? All that type of stuff. So, if you look at that, food plays a huge role, as in the nutrients that the child gets from birth. I mean, from conception, the type of food that the mother eats while she's pregnant, and the environment that she has speaks to that whole. Are we taking care of our pregnant
kid? What are we enriching them with?
And also not just the child also, but the mother. She needs to be in a good state in order for her to have a good pregnancy. That speaks to that, as in, are we supporting each other enough in that aspect? And in my opinion, we're not, because we tend to be more selfish in the way we move. Hence, how many times have we seen I don't know how often you've seen pregnant women cry about stress of pregnancy and, oh, she has to do this. But, well, for example, if you're pregnant and you're working, bro, you're 6 months pregnant and you're working, the stress of work,
of course,
impacts.
It's weighing on the baby, how the baby's developing. Just as you're saying this, like, the thought to me is more around, like, depending on where you live, how much you can afford, that will also dictate how well you're eating. Because I also don't think, like, with the self-care, it's like, okay, maybe do people even know what chakras are, like being balanced in that sense, like, from the head to the toe. And with food being one part of that, obviously there's other parts to it, but your stomach chakra is like, is it feeling fulfilled, or is it at the best level that it can be to help all the other chakras as well? So if, let's say, from birth, hey, childbirth, not childbirth, breastfeeding versus the child being on the bottle, there's different nutrients that come from that. So already from birth, like you're saying, what is being instilled or put in you is making you turn out to be a certain type of person. And it makes me also think about how we've been through those phases where they would speak about our food is like genetically modified. So us not eating very pure foods are already also, making us sick in a certain way. With the McDonald's example as well, how they, how they can say restaurants are making us addicted to sugar, and ultimately sugar is what is, starting cravings and making you want, like, fuck, I want this thing, I want this McDonald's, and it ultimately gets you to that point of realizing, like, oh shit, this is not the best thing for me, but I can't, like, I want it.
Addicted now.
Yeah, even now it's the addiction thing. It's like, fuck, I want this thing. Like, how they make it look. You even, like, food photography, and like, you've even seen those videos on YouTube perhaps, where, like, they show what it looks like in the photo, but what they actually do to make certain things look that way. There they are, like, heating up a tampon to make, like, the steak is on smoking, and I'm like, yo, bruh, the lies, but it's like, why can't food be accessible? Why can't good food be cheap? Because if you look at it, like, it's like eating healthy is expensive, bro. So it's easier to get that shit that's gonna fuck you up than to get the shit that's actually good for you. Because if you're getting like that organic, that, you know, I don't know, A grade, whatever classification is used for the premium shit, it's like, yo, for you to get it, it's an arm and a stretch. Not everybody's shopping at Woolies, bruh. Like, not everybody's going to Fresh Earth to just cop like the best vegetables, or things like that. So I definitely see that having a part in it. So if you eating, I don't know, let's say pap and cabbage versus that person who's eating, salads, and the more colors on the plate, the more nutrients there are. Now, I wouldn't say you're eating 7 colors every day, but there's enough nutrients. Yeah,
Variations
there's
for
no
you to
nutrient
grow, yeah.
scarcity there, and
It's
it's
not
not
two
to
types only.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's not to say now you have to take a vitamin all the time with all the vitamins, but you're getting them naturally in their best form. So not everybody has that. So already it's true. There is gonna be a tipping scale of some people are more holistically fulfilled internally than others. And when you mentioned even the Buddhism thing, is to say, with the different beliefs, I look at it more as like a spiritual self-care. Is to say, you know, some people would choose to believe in themselves. Some people would choose to believe like in nature, in a higher power, in karma, in just energy, Scientology, whatever belief it is. I would still say, whatever you believe in, we are not here by reason, purpose. There's something we are meant to do. Where there's an energy that we are meant to leave behind. I mean, that's how impactful Ricky's passing is. It's like, look at all of us, bro. We like feeling away, like, yo, this guy was this, he was that. All these amazing things that you see that, oh fuck, he actually wanted to be remembered for in this way. And I think to myself, like, okay, what is it that we are doing? I mean, here we are, we're creating history as well, which is a beautiful thing. I love this. But this is, just to sidetrack a little bit, this is self-care for us.
Hey, that's a good point.
This is self-care for us, because
it is therapeutic in a
yes,
sense. Yeah.
we getting to also voice our opinions, how we view things, the world around us, what matters to us. And by sharing our opinion and what we think, what we feel, others may relate, others may want to contribute, like, the plans
Or
we
have
have.
discussion. Yeah, because I think open dialogue, which is that part of the mental thing, is in expression. The whole thing of freedom of expression, to me, it's under the whole government thing. Because you know what, not to say that external factors are not a serious problem that contributes to a person not taking care of themselves. I'm not gonna downplay that. It's just that at the end of the day, we as the citizens have the power, because there's more of us, there's less of them, there's less cooperation than them. For example, when we talk about healthy eating, for example, the whole thing of food being that costly, people can use their wallet to protest in a way to make those corporations
Change. Of course.
You know what I mean? As in, so not only are you exercising your economic freedom to not give them that business.
Yeah.
Because just to sidetrack, also look at that whole H&M thing when Julius Malema and the EFF were saying,
And that boy, and
for me, it was simple. What they should have done, instead of going and trashing, even doing that with clicks, instead of trashing the damn businesses, which optically makes you look bad, it makes your supporters and people who look like you, identify as you, bad publicly. It's just aesthetically, it's terrible in my opinion, because you're not getting supporters, because you're destructive, you're not building. So, which is another aspect of the whole human dynamics of being positive is much better. There's to shit on positivity makes you look like an asshole. People don't like a person who does that.
What do you think they should have done then? Like in
So
that
for-
case,
so-
so
so- yeah.
H&M does whatever fuckery that they did.
No, this is simple.
What
Use-
positive action were they?
This is what
do?
they should have done. It's simple.
Yeah.
Simple. Everybody, what they should have said is, we're not gonna come to you and protest and put picket whatever and scream all these things and say you're racist. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna say all black people don't buy at H&M. Watch or promote that. Say we boycotting financially H&M. We're not giving you our money. Now, here's the thing. We're about what? Black folk are about what? 80% of the country of this country, this South African country, right?
Majority, yeah.
Yeah. 80%. Now, H&M came here to get our money, not white people money only.
Of course.
'Cause
Everybody, like,
Everybody.
and the
And
majority
if
being
we
us.
are the majority of the damn market, if we take away that money and don't give them,
you fuck with the bag, bro.
they
Then
will quickly conform to our standards. So that's what I'm getting to is it starts with us, starts with an individual. So to change the corporations externally,
it starts with us.
starts with us. So we need to actually say, you know what? If H&M is disrespecting us and not doing that, no money. And the more you do that with any corporations or government, for example, take away. That's why they always say follow the money. All roads lead to the financial stuff. Because if you mess up the financial aspect of anything, doesn't matter what you do aesthetically,
affected, yeah.
you impact that person or that corporation. So that's why whenever they attack you financially, just know, bro, they got you by the balls. And you have to either, unless you have another alternative plan, you need to make sure that that corporation feels the anger financially, that, you know what, how dare you come to my place and disrespect me like this and expect me to still buy your stuff. You know what I mean?
A good example is like how with the influx of like American brands coming into South Africa, like Burger King and Pizza Hut and things like that. Remember we had Domino's and now they're gone. Because people didn't buy there. If you had a Domino's pizza, like, obviously not to hate, but like, dude, it didn't taste so dope. It wasn't like, in terms of flavor, especially us. I feel like we're such a flavorful nation. We love our food, bro. Like, I think that's a known fact. And then you bring this thing that is like, it's like, it just kills the vibe, bro. And boom, here they are, they're gone. So, I wouldn't say it was a direct or conscious decision. Like, hey guys, we're gonna boycott Domino's. It was just a thing of like,
No,
we don't like this thing. We're not gonna buy it.
Yeah,
so ultimately, they saw like financially, this is not.
That's
feasible.
the market. No,
There's
that's
no
how the market
reason.
works. So if you're talking about free market systems, this is partially what the free market is. As in, the market decides whether you succeed or fail. Because and you do that by the people, your customer base, your stakeholders. If you don't look after them, they leave you. Simple as that. There's no need for violence. There's no need for threats. There's no need to be all but as if to show that it's all about putting your money where your mouth is. That is all. And because of that, I think that's why we are in the state that we are, because we've given so much of our power away, right? We can blame our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents for starting that process, but I think then it's up to us, and more importantly, the individual, to take that stance and say, it's not going to happen in our generation. Definitely won't happen. It has to happen maybe in 2 generations' time, but we need to be the starting
Instill
block
these
of
things.
guys. We need to be more people focused in the sense of, let's not conform to what we feel is wrong. Another thing, just to add on to this whole thing of, if societally we're not taken care of as a society, we're not looking after ourselves because individually we're not well. It speaks to that, the food part, the mental part, the spiritual part. All of these things are being subjugated by whatever forces that you can point at a time. But the point for me is, because we're not collectively saying enough is enough, let's look after ourselves and let's make sure if we watch TV, we're not watching the lamest things ever. We actually have something productive and entertaining, because it is possible.
Yes, being conscious of our influences, those things that we decide to make a part of our lives. As you're saying this, I remember this one person, super like spiritual, like godlike, and they were asking me about my tattoos, and they're like, dude, why do you have tattoos? The Bible, there's a verse that says you shouldn't mark your body or something like that. I'm like, bro, what if I got a Bible verse as a tattoo? Like, what if I got a cross as a tattoo, like in honor of God? And this guy couldn't say shit, you know? And the easiest way that I explained it to him was um, like cake, you know, those hundreds and thousands, those little dots, right? If life was like hundreds and thousands, you don't need the whole bottle of hundreds and thousands to make your cake. So if the cake is your life, you just need those certain things to bring into your life. You don't need everything.
Mm.
You just need enough that's gonna make you function and be who you are. And as soon as I explained that to him, like I hope I changed his perspective. But it's to say, you know what, we're all gonna believe in different things. We're all gonna value certain things higher than others, you know. Like you might wonder, like, what? You focused all your money on this, you bet like, you know, your life on this, you
Mm.
spend your time doing this. It's like who are we to judge what's it for that person? But like the critical thing is to say, in whatever you're doing to fulfill whichever level or tier it is of your hierarchy of needs, is it fulfilling? Is it non harmful? Is it not leading you down a dark path or rabbit hole where it could become destructive? I think that's the biggest thing because, as we know, the opposite side of the spectrum is dark, bro. Self harm, self jeopardy. Who knows? All these things that you could do, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that could be just fueling, you know, the worst parts of you or the worst outcomes to occur. I'm scared. I'm honestly very scared.